Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadia Shaw, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Well, I'm so excited to celebrate with you today, once again, Michelle Bizjak. Now, Michelle is the author of the Druid Book of Spells for the Lost Daughters. And it is Michelle that is coming back to Synchronicity University, this time with her own 5-part course on Druid magic. So we've got a lot to talk about here. I'm super excited that she is here. Michelle, welcome. Thank you for being here once again.
Thank you for having me, Nadia. I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to the course. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and also really insightful because I know how much you love connecting with the roots, connecting with the ancestors as part of your own magical practices. So tell me, why did you call your book, like subtitle it, because it's called the Druid Book of Spells, for the Lost Daughters? Why did you call it that?
Well, I touched a little bit on it in the speaker series, but a big part of it was there are so many of us who feel this draw to spell work and spellcraft and work with nature, want to be in nature, and are drawn to it, but we don't have anchors. And a lot of us don't have those anchors. Again, this was an oral tradition and an oral history. And with the rise of Christianity over time, and we got into that in the speaker series, we were pushed out of many places, and our last strongholds, the little bit that was retained, it was either kept by family members and passed down, or influenced heavily by religion. So you've really got to filter through a lot of it. So for the Lost Daughters is just for all of the daughters who didn't have grandmothers and great-grandmothers or mothers who had that information that passed down with them, right? And because there were a lot of witch trials and witch burnings, and we lost a lot of that part of ourselves. And then you have a lot of people who, I mean, especially you see this in Canada, but you see it everywhere now, are children of immigrants, right? So first generation, second generation Canadian, we're not going to have that anchor either. So a big part of it was for the Lost Daughters, for sons. There are gentlemen who want to get into this. But for those who don't have those anchors, but feel that draw, and they feel that longing, and they feel that desire for connection, but they don't know where to start. And I think I talked about this a little bit before. I love seeing the rise of spellcraft and spell work and like witch talk and people really talking about their practice more publicly. But I think that it's also intimidating for someone to come in without a background and to not know where to start and to be afraid of where to start. And I think starting with your roots is usually really good. It's a really good place to start. And for those who don't know their roots and have a vague idea of where their roots might be, again, if they were to see the speaker series, or we'll touch on it a bit at the beginning of this course, again, we'll go through a bit more of that. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how large that reach was and how prominent that oral tradition of spell work and, well, there's more to it than just that, but convening with nature and taking care of the planet and understanding the cycles and that you're part of that cycle. That reach was vast. And it was huge, and it was lost, and it was well taken from us, right? So for the Lost Daughters are for all of those who feel that draw, who want to do that work, and yeah, just know that you can.
Now, with the last interview that we did, I'll be sure to link it below for people out there who might be interested in that conversation. But I seem to remember talking to you about this idea of ancestors as well, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. How ancestors, for example, I feel like every astrologer that has been is my ancestor. I am connected to them. I am part of that lineage. So lineages aren't just about those that are connected to mystical, magical DNA. DNA is one thing. fine. Yeah, some people do really feel that connection on that level. But I think that more and more people, as we're exposed to more and more types of wisdoms, we're able to trust our soul journey to see where those ancestors might be, whether or not we have that DNA connection with them. And so anybody who might be, like, for example, a lot of the Druid magic comes from the part of the world like Ireland, right? For example. No, where does it come from? England?
So that was no, not at all. So Druids were all across Europe, down through the Adriatic and down into Turkey, and towards the reach was vast. So and Druids were more than just wizards or warlocks. They were astronomers, and they were judges, and they held community together, and they were the keepers of history. So they did a lot, but their reach was vast, and so their influence was also huge and greatly understated. And I think a big part of that, like, there's bits and pieces where you can find that history, but there was a big push to rewrite that history and isolate them to a small little part of the world, and that further disconnected a lot of people. So what Turkey is now, I think it was Anatolia at the time.
Yes, I believe
so. So when you start to see it and how they went down into Spain, and so down into Portugal, and then they did have interactions with people in Greece, and there's so it was a lot. It was a very large space that they spanned, and so just because of how nomadic people were in spaces where they didn't have to cross oceans, they would interact with many people from many different places. And so their influences were huge, their reach was huge, and the practice was a lot bigger and a lot more than just isolated to like Ireland and Scotland and Wales, which is what we've mainly believed. So
isn't that fascinating that they were able to reach so far and wide, sticking to this ultimately, as you said, oral tradition, but still having it evolve, not only influencing these other places, but being influenced by them as well. It's amazing how connected the world is. We don't always appreciate that. And so that shows up in terms of understanding Druid spells and Druid magic as well.
Yeah, huge. There's a lot of similarities between indigenous spirituality as we know it in North America and old Druid practice. And so you start to see those practices all throughout the Americas. And then it all goes back to, the mitochondrial DNA and the 9 women that can connect the entire world, right? Like, you go back far enough and we're all connected. Yeah. So, but do you know about the 9 women and the mitochondrial DNA? Do you know the background on that?
Oh, please tell me.
Oh my gosh. So mitochondrial DNA only comes from women, passes from women, and it remains unchanged. So the mitochondrial, if you have sons, it'll be gone from their children within 2 generations. But if you have daughters who have daughters who have daughters, it remains unchanged, and it doesn't alter. It's the DNA line that stays the same. So we can all go back to the mitochondrial Eve, right? We know about mitochondrial Eve, but if you go a little bit further ahead, and then you know that there are like bottlenecks of time with different ice ages or different diseases that would wipe out humanity and so on. But despite all of that, there are 9 women, and then mitochondrial DNA of 9 women that are held by every human today.
So we all have mitochondrial, right? So that
And
passes, but
it comes from the mother, and it
yeah,
passes from mother to daughter, and the daughter can pass it indefinitely down as long as she continues to have daughters. Your sons get it, but they lose it as the mitochondrial DNA of their children will come from their mother.
yeah.
Not from the
Wow.
father.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. And
So
because we
again,
all have
for the
mitochondrial. Yeah, we all have it.
everyone,
But in order for it to be passed to our children, that
it's
comes through the mom. Like
from
I
the
know,
mom,
and I think this is what you mean because I
by
remember
the lost
seeing this.
daughters.
Yeah. But I remember seeing this graphic that was saying that basically your the egg that was fertilized that became you from your mom has little bits in it that were in her mom. And so it's
Yeah.
like you are, it's almost as if part of you wasn't just carried inside like your
Oh
physical
yeah.
biological mom, but also parts of you were carried inside your physical grandmother. And that makes sense.
Yes.
And I think what you're talking about is part of what shows that, part of how we understand that in terms of the actual scientific names.
Yeah, and what they when they pull your DNA, they can pull your mitochondrial DNA. And what they've noticed is it does not change. Um, it'll stay the same. And as a result of that, they've been able to link it back, yeah, to specifically 9 women.
Wow.
At
And so,
the last time we had a bottleneck that wiped out most of humanity, there are the yeah.
and so when we are feeling called towards these different spiritualities or
Yeah.
these different places, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
it is part of that DNA within us that is awakening on a physical level.
On a
And that
physical level.
spreads all over the world.
Yes. And I mean,
That's so interesting.
when it comes to, so the diagram you're talking about with the moms and grandmothers, what's fascinating is, so when you're developing inside your mom, you develop and you, all of the eggs that you will ever have, you're born with them. So they're already there, which means that they developed inside your mom, which means the egg that becomes you was in your grandmother. Yeah. And so,
Wow.
which is just fascinating stuff. And I think we all know that that connection with moms can be so deep, and or grandmothers, like babies meet their grandmothers or their grandfathers for the first time and are just, they might not like any stranger, meet grandparents for the first time, and there's a connection. Even my boys with their grandfather just instantly were connected, and I was like, oh, that's crazy, because we don't live in the same city, we don't live in the same province, and he traveled a lot when he was still alive. So he was the jet setter. He liked to be in different places, and he liked the good weather. He'd follow the good weather. So when he was around, it didn't seem to matter that there had been any chunk of time between them seeing each other. The bond was close, and I had done nothing to foster it, or it was just a natural thing. And so I think that yes, that does happen. But getting back to the broader point of, yeah, we may be drawn to things and feel that pull to places and feel that connection to places and be like, well, I don't think I have any family that comes from there, but that you do. It's very likely that you do. It's very likely that you feel that draw for a reason. And I think it's also very natural for humans everywhere, to feel that draw of connection to the planet, right? To nature.
Yeah.
That is
Planets are part of nature.
It's your instincts, right? You feel that draw to the planet. You feel that draw to want to be in nature, to want to touch grass, to want to have bare feet in the dirt. You know what I mean? Like there's something very natural about that. And you see it in kids. Kids will be the first thing to show you that very, very natural draw towards something. And we lose part of that with work, right? And as we grow up and we go to school and we have jobs and careers and lives, we start to blur all of that stuff. And sometimes it just awakens, and that's it. You are immediately drawn back.
So I know that for you, like it was wonderful you mentioned the planets and things. When I like to do ritual, I like to connect with like certain deities, but for you, it's a lot about connecting with ancestors, connecting with nature in particular. And you were
Yeah,
talking about the similarities between indigenous culture and Druid culture. And a lot of that is because these are earth based traditions and
yeah,
earth based spiritualities. So, yes, we
that's
see
right.
that all over the world. And so, you like nature. So,
Love it.
tell me, how can people connect with nature in particular?
Um, Start small.
Yeah.
I don't throw yourself into some wilderness hike. I don't even do that stuff anymore. We were out in the mountains just this past weekend, but we don't. I don't do the hikes out into the barren wilderness kind of stuff anymore on my own. But so I say start small. Um, Most cities, if you don't have grass on your front lawn or have a front lawn, most cities have parks. Do you know what I mean? And just sit, sit without a phone, sit without technology, and just sit. Sit on a bench, sit in front of a tree, sit in front of a pond, um, and just close your eyes. Close your eyes and listen. Close your eyes and feel the sun hit your face. Even if it's winter, you can just, yeah, even in the winter, you just sit with your eyes closed and you feel the sun bake against your skin and breathe. Give yourself a few minutes of just silence. Um, Sometimes having noise canceling headphones, whatever you need to do. Sometimes don't. Sometimes just listen to the sound. That's a big part of it. For me, I found I like to talk to my trees. So where I live, I have trees. I live right downtown in a city, deep, deep, deep downtown in a city. So teeny, teeny, teeny front yard, teeny, teeny backyard. But I have trees. So I talk to my trees. And I found there's it feels weird at first when you start doing it, and you start talking to your trees. Feels kind of silly, but it's wonderful. I love it. Um, Talk to your plants. So I don't know if you have seen those studies on people who play music for their plants, or and they have different responses and different reactions to different things, and they record and document. But yeah, your plants are listening. They're always listening. They're around you all the time. So yeah, try talking to your houseplants, and then build up to it. And so when I say I go to convenience nature, I want something I love doing is forest bathing. So for those who don't know, um, finding a part of, even if it's a park, like so in Toronto you have High Park, so there are those dirt paths that go down and they're fairly heavily treed and nice, and obviously don't put yourself in any kind of danger. Go with someone. You don't want to be alone in a park and get yourself exposed to something dangerous. But I love I have little spots around here, and so forest bathing for me is sitting in deep forest, on a log, on a patch of moss, and just being still, being quiet, closing my eyes, opening my eyes. Either way, you're going to kind of meditate and you're going to relax and you're going to let everything just kind of flow into yourself. And that is documented healing. So here's another part to that. So there are studies, there are doctors in, I'm trying to think if it was in Japan or in China. I think it was actually in China, where they had taken very unhealthy people with a lot of problems, and they had taken them out into the forest to camp and walk for 3 days. Now, it wasn't massive hiking, they're not doing super major exercises or anything. And they would take them for 3 days or 5 days or 7 days, different variations of time. And then they document their health. Then they look at, over the next month, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, that kind of thing. Or document, was there an improvement? Wasn't there an improvement? And what they noticed was 100% of the time, they had better health improvements and health outcomes after being in deep forest, deep treed areas, like wilderness, any kind of wild area where you don't have a lot of buildings and you haven't had a lot of intervention from us developing it. And the increase in what they were noticing was your immune cells spike. So your immune cells spike after the exposure, and then they hold that spike for 3 weeks to, it's 3 to 4 weeks, but it starts to drop off on the 4th week. And you don't have to go for 3 days. You don't have to go for 7 days. You don't have to do anything crazy like that. They said they tried to refine it down to the least amount of time you need, and it's 1 day every 3 to 4 weeks, immersed in nature and surrounded by, natural growth. So you want to be around like moss and dirt and trees and just deeply surrounded by plants or not plants of any kind. But it spikes your immune cells, so you are healthier from that exposure. And there's something to be said about the putting your hands in dirt. So gardening and the microbiome that comes just from the dirt, and your exposure to it against your skin is phenomenal. But there's a lot to be said about the health benefits of it. So for myself, I always say, you live in a city, you can't get out. Not everybody can. Go find a park. Find some area that has more natural growth. And sometimes just sitting on a lawn and taking your shoes off and putting them on the grass or the dirt. And if you live by an ocean, I found for myself, sitting by any body of water, sitting by a river, sitting by a pond, sitting by a lake, sitting by the ocean, any body of water. For me, I love water. That's a personal thing. I have some deep connection to water. But there's healing that's done in that.
Yeah, and I find that just like with astrology and gazing on the planets, being in nature, it's like it reminds you who you are. Like it reminds you who you really are. And I think that's part of what makes it so powerful. That's why they say, like, when you are not feeling so great on a mental health level, one of the most important things and powerful things you can do is go for a walk where possible. Not everybody can. But if you can, go for a walk. It is, one of the most important and powerful things possible in order to help yourself on a mental health level, if nothing else, just on that level. Yeah. And it makes sense because that's where you're connected to self, like some essence of self.
There's that whole process of leaving your home and going out, and the walking, and I'm not talking about just going and walking. You're moving your body and you're alone with your thoughts and you're connecting with your body because your body is in motion. So each step you're taking, your mind has to connect to the physical body as it's in motion. So it does wonders with reconnecting yourself.
And so I know, like, with the course that you're going to be teaching. So once again, everybody, Michelle is coming to Synchronicity University on a 5-week course on Druid magic. Yes. And as this is publishing, you've got a little time left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class, to learn from Michelle, to dive into Druid magic. So I know that as part of what you are doing, there is going to be like a workbook that you give to people, and it has suggested assignments and things. So all of this stuff that you're talking about here today about connecting with nature and how that is a way to connect with magic and tapping into the magic of nature to direct the energies where you want to go, to manifest what it is you want. It is a part of what Druid magic is about.
A big part of it. And I'm so excited. I'm glad you brought up the workbook. So the workbooks are beautiful. They're going to be distributed online to everyone who's attending for you to download. You can print them and save them if you like. They're made to be pretty. They're made to be saved. And if you can print them, because then you can write in them, you can journal in them, you can save your notes, you can all of your practices, because we're going to get into a little bit of bardic work, learning how to rhyme, to remember stuff, and how to turn anything into a song. Take any song that you like and change the lyrics to help you remember something. So we're going to get into a bit of that, and we're going to do the visualization. It's going to be fun. So you're going to have your workbooks that'll help you practice and write that stuff out.
Songs are spells. Can I just say, songs are spells.
They are. They absolutely are.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been so conscious about the type of songs lately, and it helps so much because there's spells and you're repeating it in your mind again and again. It helps so much to think about things that are actually going to help you.
You know what? And it's something I say all the time, and I say it all the time. Like, words have power. Words have power.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it's one of the things that's in. So the book itself that I wrote, it has multiple pages in here that are for keeping notes, because the Druid book of spells can be used as a workbook, because you get spells that you can practice yourself in the book, but it also has parts for notes, so where you could keep, what time of month, what time of day, what was the work that you did, what changed, what didn't change, did it work, did you try it at a different time, did you do a full moon and a new moon, but also to be very cautious. It always says at the top, it says words have power. Keep your notes. Words have power. And
words have power.
I enforce that so much. There's oh my goodness, there was a woman, I don't remember. I can't remember if she had a YouTube channel or a TikTok channel, and she listened to, who was it she listened to? And I can see her in my mind, and I can't remember the singer. But she listened to just this one particular singer only only her music for 30 days. And she's like, her skin just became amazing, like radiant. And she's like, I don't know what I've been doing different. And she's like, oh, this is this thing that I'm doing. This is the only thing that I've changed. And now my skin is amazing. And it's, well, this just opens up a whole nother can of worms about like the different frequencies, sound frequencies, and how they impact everything. So when you start to pay attention to that stuff and the frequencies that you're listening to when you listen to music, and if you watch TV or you watch YouTube or TikTok or whatever, what are you absorbing? What are you absorbing? What are you listening to? And how is it changing your perception of the reality that you make for yourself? Right? So if reality is relative based on someone's perception of that reality, and your perception can be altered because it can be influenced by things people are saying, and then remember that the frequency that the music is playing at can also change the impact, you start to be like, oh, what am I absorbing? What am I taking in? And it changes everything. Everything changes in that moment. So one of the assignments, so I am planning on giving an assignment. You don't have to do them, but I mean, ideally, please do them, because this is the big part of this course is learning. And so the learning is the practice. And so you get an assignment and it'll be fun, but it'll be like in week 3, we really do get into spell work and spellcraft and learning about that as we build up. And so you will have a spellcraft assignment, and you will have, are you going to do it just as a physical thing? Are you going to write the incantation? Are you going to do bardic work? Is it going to be in the form of song? Is it going to rhyme? Is it not going to rhyme? Are you doing it at night? What elements are you using? So we're going to get into a bunch of that kind of really, really fun stuff. And if you're pulling from nature and you don't live in the place that I live, your nature is going to look different. But how different, right? And so pull from the elements that surround you, and then we'll talk about some elements that were like very important through Druid practice, which are not elements grown in other parts of the world, but things that are similar in other parts of the world. So we'll get into both of those. So you're not missing out, but you'll see that connection. And again, I know it seems so silly to say talk to trees, but honestly, talk to your trees. Pick one, make it yours. Could be one that you walk by every day, and just talk to it and see how your life changes over the course of a month. Just give it a month. And I know when it gets really hot here, I will, and people think it's weird because I'll water the trees on the boulevard. But it's because when it gets too hot and the sap goes too high into the tree, it'll spit sap, and then it doesn't have that sap resource to pull back down into its roots to survive the winter properly. So I try to cool them down, and I talk to them while I'm doing it. And it changed it changed a lot of things in my life, because I'm sharing bits of my personal life with them while I'm watering them and taking care of them. And there's they respond differently to you. They listen to you. They know who you are. They've been watching everybody walk by them for, a lot of them, hundreds of years. So that's a challenge. I think I would like everybody who sees this interview to take 1 month and pick a tree that you walk past or you see is on your property, is at your work, is at your school. Pick a tree and just make a point of talking to that tree.
Build a relationship with that tree, and it will support you. Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly,
energetically.
one of the things, energetically, and one of the most amazing things you can do, and it's kind of like it's like a practice, is take all of your problems after you've built your relationship with your tree that you've been talking to for a week. Tell it your problems. There's somebody who's like, wronged you, or you're having problems with or strife with. Tell the tree. Tell this one particular tree, and just see what happens. See what happens with that information. See where it goes. See where the tree takes it. See if the tree shares it, and see if it doesn't resolve much better than you anticipated. That's one of those crazy things. People are like, why are you talking? But they'll take that information. You tell them problems that are happening in your life, and it's almost as if it gets set to the wind and it resolves.
Yeah. The trees are part of our ancestors. Yeah.
They're really very, very well connected. So I think that's one of the ones I always say, everybody, anywhere between now and when this course starts,
dive in, pick a tree, pick a plant, make that relationship happen. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that right away. So Michelle,
Nadia, I hope that you do, because I would love to see how everything works out if you just pick a tree and make that the one that you, or yeah, because I know where you live. Pick a tree and just like gossip with it. Oh my God, go out there and gossip. Trees love gossip. Bring a cup of tea, sit and just be like, okay, let me tell you what's going on, because this is ridiculous. And have that moment. Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to try that. I sincerely mean it. I'm going to try that, and I will give you an update on that. I so love that tip, because lots of things get worked out just like they do in nature. You're bringing nature into whatever might be happening with you, and you're building that relationship, and that relationship can be like mutually beneficial, energetically, and in so many other ways. Yeah, that's very powerful to consider. Michelle, thank you again for being here. Everybody, it is Michelle who's coming back to Synchronicity University as part of the September 2026 course lineup that we have, a 5-week course just on Druid magic. I'm so looking forward to it. As this publishes, you've got just a couple days left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class, to learn from Michelle. Michelle, thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to your class.
Oh, I know you're going to love it. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be so much fun.
Thank you, everybody out there, for watching. Until we connect again, take care. Bye.